What's up, y'all? This is episode 119 of Shoebooty Sports coming at you Tuesday, not Tuesday night. As you can see, there's some daylight behind me, so we're coming at you a little early tonight today. See, I'm just in the habit of saying tonight. But yes, I'm your host, Graham Powell, co-host over there on the other screen, Bradley Brown. Say what's up, Brad.
Hola.
And as y'all know, we're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Shoebooty Sports is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon, and the Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience, track it with your fitness app of choice, screenshot your results as proof of completion, submit those results to rhinoraces.com under the submit results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. RhinoRaces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series, and business has been so good that their prices are now lower than they've ever been. So now's the time to go sign up for one or all 5 of their races. Again, RhinoRaces.com. Be sure to check out the sweet deals they have going on over there. And you can find us, Shoe Booty Sports, on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit some likes while you're there, and follow us on Twitter at Shoe Booty Sports. All right, so this is going to be the big Super Bowl episode. Super Bowl 58. I didn't even know which Super Bowl it was because I can't read Roman numerals once you get to that point until I saw the DJ DJing the whole thing and he had a 58 jersey on. I was like, hey, that was my number. And they're like, it's because it's Super Bowl 58. I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Uh, why would why else would you randomly have 58 on your number unless you're Graham Powell in high school? But yeah, Super Bowl 58 recap. Chiefs come back and win it, and we both had the Chiefs winning, correct?
Correct.
And I'm not shocked by the margin. I figured it would be close. I had them winning by 10, but I'm not surprised that it was close, that it was a 3-point game, especially after the first half. I mean, 49ers outplayed them. 49ers outplayed them in the first half. Big problem though is you look at the scoreboard and they're only down what what was the highest the Niners were up in the first half? 10 point, were they up 10 points? Is
Yeah,
that
they
the
were up
highest
10
they got?
points. Yeah.
Yeah, and by halftime the score is what it was. And you say, what was the score at halftime? I don't have it in front of me. I didn't jot that down.
It's 10-3.
Yeah, I was gonna say either way, you're leaving the game open for Patrick. You're keeping the Chiefs in the game. As long as the Chiefs are in the game, they have a shot. And yeah, 49ers couldn't capitalize. They couldn't capitalize off of the Chiefs' mistakes. Of course, they had that Mahomes had that interception, which very unlike him. He looked rattled in the first half. He looked
Yeah.
rattled in the first half. In the second half, there was a point where he had this look on his face after a long run, scrambling, and I said he's back.
Yep.
Like he's back. And by that I mean he had his swagger back, he had his confidence back, and that showed. 49ers did not, they just couldn't put them away when they had the chance. Like when you had opportunities in the first half to gain a sizable lead, a lead that maybe would be big enough that not even Patrick Mahomes could come back from, and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't capitalize off the Chiefs' mistakes. Of course, McCaffrey had that fumble too. Nobody's talking
Yeah.
about that. Now it was early in the
David,
game.
first drive. Yeah. They're moving the ball down the field, and yeah, he coughed it up. So,
Yeah, nobody's talking about McCaffrey's fumble. Now he had a really good game outside of that,
yeah.
but Pacheco fumbled. A lot of people are still kind of talking about that. Not so much now that the Chiefs won, but I've heard more talk about that than
Yeah. Well,
McCaffrey's
he
fumble.
fumbled. He fumbled on the 8-yard line going into score. I
No,
mean,
that's
it's
true too.
pretty more significant. I think McCaffrey, his fumble was around midfield. So,
Yeah, it was, but that's just an example of. I mean, every possession was valuable, even though it didn't seem it necessarily in the first half because nobody was doing anything offensively.
no.
It was still a very good game. It wasn't exciting, at least in the first half, but it was
Yeah, it was a little bit of a snooze fest.
a little bit. Um, but I mean, the defense came to play. You could say Nick Bosa could have been the Super Bowl MVP after one half of play.
Yeah.
Uh, 49ers looked really good to start. when Dre Greenlaw got hurt, though, tore his Achilles coming onto the field.
Yeah.
I looked and I was like, I almost had just a no way that happened. I just had a no way that happened reaction.
I
Like that
think
really
everybody
happened.
did. Yeah.
Like
That
like
sucks.
in the Super Bowl, you're and he was fired up the entire game.
Fired up.
Gosh. I was like, gosh, why is he so fired up? It's only the biggest game of his life. Like it's only the Super Bowl. Like, why are you so, jacked up? And I said, of course, that facetiously for those of you listening and not watching us on Spotify and YouTube. But that talk about just a freakish way to get injured in the biggest game of your life, and that's crazy. That was a really weird moment, very unfortunate moment.
For
But
a
yeah,
minute there, it seemed like the 49ers were dropping like flies. It seemed like, every other drive they had somebody going down. But
yeah, and it was just I don't know. Second half was very exciting, and I thought Brock Purdy played really well, all things considered.
yeah,
And yeah, I thought Brock Purdy showed up. I genuinely wanted. There wasn't a team I was rooting for. I wasn't rooting for one or the other. I was literally rooting for both offenses. Whenever the 49ers would do something good, I would cheer. Whenever the 49ers or Chiefs would do something good, I cheered. I really I wanted to see both teams do well, especially I wanted to see Brock do well on this stage. He did that. Check that off. Of course, you want to win the Super Bowl. That's the ultimate prize. There's only one winner at the end of the day. But yeah, it was interesting watching this game because I always find myself pulling for one team or the other. And even if I go into it saying I don't have a dog in the fight, I genuinely didn't care. I was kind of pulling for both teams to do well. And I just wanted to see a good game and just let the best team win. To me, the 49ers were the better team, just from top to bottom, but the Chiefs had the best player. And maybe the best player, and I'll just say it, a lot of people are already saying this. I didn't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I sat on it and I stewed on it. Of course, our show allows us to have a couple of days to do that, just coming out on Tuesdays. But Patrick Mahomes is the best football player I've ever seen. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen. As far as just, I mean, I don't need to explain it further than that, do I? He's the best quarterback I've ever seen. And I've heard this comparison, like I guess people that have said the same thing. I heard one take of Bill Russell has the most rings, but we don't call him the best player ever. So that doesn't necessarily mean we have to do that with Brady. Brady was the best quarterback, the GOAT. But after this, and
and
just
he beat
seeing
Mahomes head to head
he
in the
did,
Super Bowl.
yeah. But again, it's football. There's 22 play. It's not basketball. It's not 5-on-5. It's 11-on-11, and it's really 22 on 22. And Mahomes ran for his life that entire game. And he actually played well in that game when he had chances to throw. It wasn't like he had just a poor performance. That my only knock on him in that game was he wouldn't take what the defense would give him. He was trying to hit the home run every play rather than hit the underneath routes, things like that. Clearly learned, and plus Tampa Bay wasn't giving him time. They weren't giving him time to throw the ball down the field like he was accustomed. He and Reed and company were accustomed to doing. So yeah, you could say that the head to head thing, but it's football. I don't really look at it that way.
Everybody's gonna say it though.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that is right though. That doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
correct. It's sure it's an argument for Brady, but if you're, let me ask it this way: both of them are in their primes, and you're putting a team together, and you can pick anyone, any era from their prime at quarterback. Who are you picking? Are you still going with Brady?
Probably not because he can't scramble and move. He can move, but he really don't scramble.
He can't move. He can take a step up in the pocket.
Yeah.
About it.
He moved enough to get, that many rings.
Yeah, he moved around the pocket. He moved his arm. That's all you need to do. And but Tom Brady was on the best team for those first three. He was the quarterback of the best team in the league and the best coach team in the league. His first three Super Bowls. Yeah, you could argue the Seahawks were better the year that the Patriots beat them. You could argue the Rams were better the year that the Patriots beat them. And he beat them with his brain. Coaching and it wasn't just Brady; it was coaching too. Just keep the ball on the ground and don't let Aaron Donald eat me, kind of thing. We could argue this, and there's plenty of discussion to be had. But to me, my opinion, Grandpa Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. And you're
So
probably not ready to go there yet. Sounds like.
he's right up there.
I say
Up.
it's hard to say he isn't, even if
You,
you're not there yet.
see, you say that the 49ers outplayed the Chiefs, right? You know that the Chiefs led them in pretty much every stat. They had more total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards. Uh, had more average more yards per play. The only thing they didn't lead was time of possession, which is only like a minute and a half in the favor of the 49ers.
Yeah, I'd like to see the first half numbers though. It felt like Mahomes was on the sideline a large chunk of that first
Yeah,
half.
but games two halves.
That's true.
And
Yes,
the
I think
Chiefs did
yeah.
outplay them in the second half. Chiefs defense stepped up.
Yeah, they did. But and by that I say the 49ers, when I say they outplayed the Chiefs, they outplayed them in the first half. They obviously didn't in the second half and overtime. I mean, clearly. But yeah, first half, the 49ers had their shot. They had their chance to get a sizable lead on them. The opportunities were there, and they didn't take advantage of it. Brock Purdy alluded to that in the post game interviews. Everybody's touched up on it because it was obvious. It was right in front of us. But yeah, Mahomes to me, that was my big takeaway. Mahomes is him, and not only
He is
that,
him.
he's
Yeah.
he's the best I've seen. He's the best I've ever seen, and I'm going ahead and saying that. I could argue Andy Reid's got an argument now for the best coach ever. I know 3 Super Bowls isn't 6, but look at how Belichick has done with and without Tom Brady. His record was garbage with Cleveland, and then he gets Tom Brady, wins 6 Super Bowls. Brady leaves, and it's been worse ever since. It's just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, you could say he overachieved in Philadelphia. Now, I mean, they had some good teams. Donovan McNabb was a good quarterback, but he was like what a B quarterback when he was had his absolute best.
Say B
Yeah,
plus maybe.
yeah, maybe. I'd say he was a solid B quarterback. Always out of shape.
Yeah.
He'd have good seasons. I mean, he didn't he throw up in the Super Bowl? Just from probably coming
I
in out
can't
of shape.
I can't remember.
Well, it took that team to got that team to the Super Bowl. And that Donovan McNabb was a really good player. I'm not knocking that, but like I said, a B quarterback, Patrick Mahomes is A plus, and then some. That's an A. That's as good as you're going to get at quarterback. And we can see what they've done. They've won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls in a 5-year stretch, and they're close games on top of that. When it's close like that, and I think from top to bottom, the 49ers had the better team, just roster wise.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs had the best player and the best tight end. We'll talk about Kelce here in a little bit. How about Kelsey's second half, by the way?
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
beats that
really came
one
alive.
reception for 1 yard in the first half.
Yeah. And that happened so fast. It was like a screenplay essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Much better second half. Of course, the Chiefs were able to you give Andy Reid halftime that much of a chance at halftime to make adjustments, you see the results. You saw the results in the second half. And all right, so let's talk about say but let's talk about Shanahan, start of overtime. You're shaking your head about receiving the kickoff. Tell me why. Tell us why. Tell everybody at home why.
Because
Or in
he
the
did
car,
not know
whatever.
the rules. He did not know the rules. He thought it was whoever scores first wins the game.
I don't think that's what he thought. You may not know the entirety of the rules. I don't think he thought whoever scores first wins the game.
Well, if he I don't know, man. Why?
He
It's like overtime in college football. Why would you want the ball first? You want the ball second, just so if you need to get it, you go for it on fourth down. You have an extra down. I mean, you have that advantage of knowing what you got to beat. If the first team scores a field goal, yeah, you can score a field goal on top, but you also know if you win it or if you get the touchdown, you win, and you have that extra down to make it happen.
Yeah, here's the thing though. And I like what he said. I mean, he said this in the post game interview. I wanted to have the ball last. I mean, he's probably fully expecting Patrick Mahomes to go down the field and score. And, they were wanting to do the same. Niners go down and score, Chiefs go down and score and tie it. Then the next score wins the game. And you get the ball. So I understood it. To me, of course, hindsight's always 2020. But here's the thing: if you defer and give it to the Chiefs and they go down and score a touchdown, that's only putting that much more pressure on your essentially or your second year quarterback. I'm going to say rookie, but your second year quarterback Brock Purdy. That's only adding that much more pressure to that team, to that side of things.
Yeah.
It's what I would have done. I would have received the kickoff too because I would have had that in mind. Like, hey, we need to go down and score because Mahomes is going to go score too, and now we have a chance to then we can go win the game. So I understood it. Like I said, a lot of people talking bad about it now, but of course, like I said, hindsight's always 2020. I don't know that it changed anything as far as what they should have or would have done. Of course, had they known the outcome, I don't know what you do different other than I guess go for it in that situation. On fourth and three or whatever it was. But he's
Yeah.
catching a lot of flack for that. I don't necessarily agree with it.
I
I
don't know. I've read a lot of these players did not have a full understanding of the playoff overtime rules.
I did see
Whereas
that.
whereas Reed, he reviewed the rules practically a couple times a week leading up to the Super Bowl with the team.
Well, and I believe that the team like went over it. They went over what would
Yeah.
happen in that situation, what they would do. 49ers did not do that. Clearly, I mean, the players didn't know the rules. Not all the players knew the rules, but I don't know if the players know the rules about. You could say that about just about any sport. A quick example: I won't say who, but maybe the best high school basketball coach in the state of Arkansas. Back when I was a reporter, they were in the state championship game, playing against Bobby Portis and company, Little Rock Hall, and the other team's best player. He kept when the ball would be underneath the basket, and they would end up or anywhere on their side of the court when they would inbound the ball, and he'd have to run back to get open. He would run back, and the guy would throw it toward half court where he'd be running, and he'd be like jumping. He jumped multiple times, like trying to stop the ball from going over half court because you could tell he thought that it's going to be a backcourt violation. And this
Yeah.
this happened 3 times in crucial moments in that game, and I kept looking over to who I think is probably the best coach in the state, and he's not even reacting to it. And I'm thinking, he doesn't know this rule. You need to tell him it's okay. Like you can go back court on an inbound pass. And it never clicked. And it was their best player and he didn't know that rule. So the point and I've also and well, I won't go there because it was that. Now we're talking about kids, but these are professionals, so you expect them to know the rules. But I can understand why you wouldn't in that situation. It's a very unique situation. Probably not something. It's great. It's kind of wild to me that Andy Reid and company thought to go over that prior to the game. All right, so okay, as far and let's talk more about Mahomes' greatness. Just think about people that great, whether it's Mahomes, Brady, Jordan, etc. You got to have the ability, right, and the competitive drive. Nobody has that more than those two or those people I've mentioned. But on top of that, you have to have like a mental strength about you that's just different that not everybody has. I mean, like Michael Jordan, dealt with the murder of his father. And of course, he went off and played baseball, but then comes back to basketball, wins 3 championships. Uh, on top of that, toward the end of the last three-peat, we've seen The Last Dance. He's dealt with he dealt with fighting the owner, fighting the GM, and just overcoming that. Of no telling what all Tom Brady and company dealt with, away from the field, like in house. Him and Belichick didn't always get along. It's not like they went out and had dinner together ever, or anything like that. We'll never know necessarily what the stuff he dealt with, but I mean, let's look at what Patrick Mahomes has dealt with. You got a brother that's in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
Extremely
nobody likes him.
yeah,
Yeah,
extremely high maintenance brother to deal with. You got a dad who this past week, your own dad, gets his third DWI. So then you
yeah.
got to field questions about that during Super Bowl media week.
He going to jail.
I mean, and he handled that as well as he could. Mahomes, that is Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes, the second.
yeah.
um, I'm not going to say anything bad about his wife, but looks like he's got a wife who likes the spotlight some. That's being shined on that family, and understandably so. It's the best player in the world. So, and he handles all that as well as you can. I mean, you just dude's got just he's got a mental fortitude and strength about him that's just different, combined with that ability and level of competitiveness, and just this intent. He's just got something inside him. Like he's got the same thing that Brady has, that MJ had, still has, I'm sure. And it separates the great, the all-time greats to the greatest. I mean, that's what makes them different. Just something to just something I noticed and wanted to talk about here on the show. And watching the post game stuff after the Super Bowl, Mahomes' record is 15-3. His playoff record is 15-3. I think that's the second highest
Insane.
like win
Yeah,
percentage.
insane.
I don't remember who was first, but 15-3 playoff record on a team that didn't look very good at the end of the regular season. Didn't look very good.
No,
Now I thought they would win the first round game, but that first, I believe it was the Dolphins they beat. I couldn't think of it last week on the show, but yeah, it was. After seeing that first round, that wild card playoff win, I was like, the Chiefs look like the Chiefs. They look like the Super Bowl champs, and they look that way until the end. Not necessarily in the first half of the Super Bowl, but 49ers didn't take advantage of that again, and the outcome is what it was. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Travis Kelce now. We've talked a lot about Super Bowl, etc., and we'll continue for a little bit longer. But does Kelsey have an argument as the GOAT as far as tight ends go? You think he's better than Gronk, or at least on the same
no.
level?
He's on the same level. He ain't better than Gronk. Gronk did more in less time. I mean,
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, Kelce does some things better than Gronk did.
He
Kelsey
does.
Kelsey's a great route runner, a
Yep.
terrific route runner, and Gronk's good for his size. But covering Gronk is like covering a polar bear. It's just you can't defend it. And Kelsey just finds a way to get open
Yeah. Finds that soft area in the zone, or
and
yeah.
just sits there, and he finds a way to get open, finds that spot in that soft spot in the zone, that open spot, like you said, and just gets open, and Mahomes gets it to him. We've touched up on that plenty on the show, but I think Kelsey's just as good. I had always
He
said
is.
Gronk's the best, and Kelsey's maybe. I mean, he's coming, but I never considered him as good as Gronk. Now I do. I think they're 1A, 1B, and they have their own strengths, like, and they kind of do it a little bit differently. Travis Kelce does it more like a wideout.
Yeah.
Gronk is like a tight end on steroids. He never. Not saying he ever took them. Just saying it's like a tight end in create a player mode.
Yeah. You put him in a body cast, he'll still be productive.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Kelsey just as good as Gronk. I'm like you. I'm not. I wouldn't say he's better than, but to me, it's like Gronk, Kelsey, 1A, 1B as far as who I would take as the best ever. There are others you could toss around as far as the best tight ends ever. Tony Gonzalez, he's probably about as good as any of them to ever do it. You go watch Tony Gonzalez highlights, you kids at home, and you'll
He's
see
good.
what I'm talking about. He's probably as good as anybody that's ever done it. Antonio Gates was a really good one. He had a couple of Hall of Fame quarterbacks throwing to him, but that's of course so did
Yes. So does Kelce and Gronk. Yeah.
yeah, so does Kelsey and Gronk. Um, but yeah, Kelsey just another huge thing to add to his resume and legacy. And he's coming back as he should. He made that clear. He's coming back next year. And we
Gotta go
talked
for
about
that
this last
three-peat, man.
week. Yeah. I mean, how there's no way you could walk away from this. Not right now.
No.
You can understand Jason Kelsey walking away, offensive lineman, the team that was atrocious down the stretch and looks to be in shambles a little bit, and a
Yeah.
lot of question marks amongst the coaching staff.
Hated their famous play, the tush push. Hated it.
Did he?
Yeah. He did not like it.
I mean, I could see why you're getting mauled to death every time you do it. Did he say that on his podcast or something?
Yeah, believe so.
Has he come out
He said,
recently and said this?
I want to say, yeah, it was you know, after the season was done. I mean, he said he was not a fan of the tush push.
Yeah, and I could see why, man. I mean, he's because he's the guy at the bottom of the pile every play.
Yeah.
I mean, his job's hard enough. He's hurting enough as it is. But then you do that. I can see why. I can see why the Eagles run it because they do it better than anyone else, and they convert every time they do it. But at the same time, I get why you wouldn't like it if you're him. That's gonna hurt. But yeah, if you're Travis Kelce, you can't walk away from this. Not now. You wait till it's done. You wait till you run it back till you can't anymore. That's the way I see it. You're only going to get one shot at this. So I'm glad he put that to bed, and like they all seem hungry for it. Like, no, we're not done. We got a young team. They know what they have, and I love Mahomes saying after the game, Chiefs are never underdogs. I mean, he just making it clear they're the champs, they're the team to beat, and they're not going anywhere. So, do they? What are the chances they? What are the chances they three-peat? Are you taking the Chiefs next year or the field?
Oh man, that's a
I think Vegas has the 49ers as the
yeah. I see the 40. I don't know,
favorites.
man. 49ers path is probably easier,
Oh, there's no probably.
but
It's a much easier path
yeah,
to get back.
Chiefs, man. I can't bet against them now, man. Like
Nobody with any
Rice,
sense is
Rice is
going
only going to
to.
be better. I mean,
nobody with any sense is going to bet against Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game from now on. By the way,
No.
myself included. I learned my lesson against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. Never again.
Yeah.
You didn't answer the question though.
Chances?
Well, Chiefs or the field
I'm going with the Chiefs. The
to three-peat.
three-peat.
Oh, that's
Sounds
so hard to
impossible.
do. That's so hard to do. Just because it's the field, I'm gonna. Yeah, just because it's the field, I'll say the field. Because it's so hard to do that. Has anyone
Yeah.
ever done it?
I don't know about a three-peat, man.
I don't think anybody's ever had a three-peat, at least in the Super Bowl era. I'll go the field, but if it's, I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs in any playoff game moving forward, next season. So I'm not making sense with that. I'm kind of canceling out my what I'm saying with the field. It just seems silly to say the Chiefs, but versus the field. But that's the best way I can answer that. I guess I'll pick the field, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
there's a
chances
very
are it's the field, man, but I'm not betting against Mahomes, Kelce, and them.
no, and nor should you. I think there's a very good chance that we're going to see these two teams back at it
Yes.
again next year, or at
Yeah.
least over the next several years. This could be the matchup again at some point. The like Lakers Celtics we saw throughout the 80s from time to time. It could very well be Chiefs 49ers. Could very well be the case in the 20s. I guess we're the 20s now.
Sounds right.
I mean, nobody's saying that. Nobody's. You talking about 1920? No, that was 100 years ago. It's the
Yeah.
20s. We're in the 20s. At what point did society do that in the 1900s? Start saying 60s, 70s, 50s.
Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's of course we weren't around then, but just it's the 20s. That they could be. It could be Chiefs 49ers we're talking about, over the next decade or a decade later. All right, so take any takeaways. What are your biggest takeaways from the 2023-24 NFL season?
CJ Stroud is him. Bryce Young is not. And Lamar Jackson blew it. Those are my biggest takeaways.
All right. Well, Patrick Mahomes is him. CJ Stroud is coming. I'll put it that way. He is. Yeah, CJ Stroud
Well,
is.
excluding the Super Bowl, those are my takeaways.
All right. Well, yeah. CJ Stroud is the next big thing. I, I said that a year ago when he was in college, and he proved me right this season. Yeah, CJ Stroud is maybe the next guy because there's a
Oh,
lot of really good quarterbacks. It's hard to say he's going to be so much better than all of them, but I mean, CJ Stroud's going to be a star over the next 10 years. That is the big takeaway. So the Texans are going to be fun to watch in the years to
and the
come.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Lines
see,
made people believers.
they did, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions drop off some next year either. I mean, I could see
Yeah.
even the Packers winning that division. Now, but I think the Lions are in the mix. I still think they're going to be good. I just, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, but the biggest takeaway for me: never bet against Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. And he's the best I've ever seen, and he proved that this season. So those are my big takeaways there. All right. In other news that we'll touch up in the last 5 minutes of this show, Chip Kelly takes the offensive coordinator position at Ohio State, left UCLA for a coordinator position. If that's not an indictment on the NIL and transfer portal and the way things are being handled, on top
Yep.
of you lost Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban retired because of that. I mean, he'd say he would have he might have only coached 3-4 more years, but he said now's as good a time as any to get out. I'm sick of dealing with this.
Yep.
Chip Kelly, I'm done catering to recruits. I just want to coach football. And goes to Ohio State, take a coordinator position, one that I'm sure he'll be very successful out at no excuses for Ohio State now, right?
No.
I mean, you're throwing around NIL money. You're bringing in all these coordinators. I mean, they're going all in, and I can understand why. So, big thing there. Chip Kelly taking the OC position at Ohio State. All right, NBA All Star Weekend is this weekend. Something I do look forward to every year. Is it the best All Star game amongst pro sports? What rivals it? Maybe the
Uh,
MLB All Star Game. Maybe.
maybe, yeah, maybe Major League Baseball. I don't know. It's the most fun to watch because there's absolutely zero defense.
Yeah, but even then, it gets competitive down the stretch. The MLB All Star Game has been boring as hell to me the last couple of seasons. It's been typical modern day baseball, power arms and either strikeouts or home runs. Uh, so to me, the NBA All Star Game is the most exciting. All Star weekends usually a lot of fun. Now the uh, a year or two ago, the slam dunk contest was just complete trash. It was the worst. The dunk contest was the worst I've ever seen. They got to get better performers than that. And if it's as bad this year, make the 3-point contest last. I do like that Steph is going up against like the WNBA's current best shooter, or at least 3-point shooter. That should be interesting. Probably tune into that. I'm going to be in Texarkana this weekend. I got a half marathon Sunday, but Saturday night, you can bet I'll be sitting on my hotel room bed, watching TV, winding down that way, watching NBA All Star Weekend. Yeah, to me, it's the best. It's the best All Star game amongst pro sports. NBA All Star Weekend. All right, and the Arkansas Razorbacks actually got a win Saturday. Uh, men's hoops beat Georgia at home. Third SEC win improves them to 12-11 on the season, 3-7 in SEC play.
Yep.
And I did check out before the Super Bowl. I did check out the Iowa women. I've seen just about every game of theirs as of late, and I mean they blew that one. Number 2 Iowa went into the fourth quarter up 14 over Nebraska. Caitlin Clark had 31 points going into the final quarter and scored nothing in the fourth. Jazz Shelley of Nebraska outshined her, senior guard for the Cornhuskers, and Nebraska pulled it off. Even did the "you can't see me" thing uh, after hitting a big three, which I actually liked. Very different from the way Angel Reese
Yeah.
did it.
It's
I'll just let
very
you see.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll let you see the video and decide. Not stalking her like a weirdo or anything like that. But still, Caitlin Clark's going to set the NCAA women's all-time scoring record this next game. She needs 8 points. The average ticket price for that this upcoming game, $521. If that's not a sign that the women's game is coming, I don't know what is. And Caitlin Clark has everything to do with that. But we'll talk more about that. More sports to come next week. Until then, we're out of time. We'll see y'all next week. This is Graham Powell.
Brother Brown.
Deuces, y'all.
Peace.